This is a test of the Smash Homechurch microphone. Courtesy of your friendly neighborhood Smashers.
Alligators are ornery because
We'll be starting soon. Bear with us.
They wouldn't want it on the weekend.
you're wrong, Mama Ryan.
That's not picking up anything.
Go toothbrush.
But on this side, actually.
I think we should.
You're wrong, Mama Ryan.
Yeah. Now it's
Yeah, the other one's
picking up
coffee
something.
and cherry.
Oh my god.
All I'm seeing.
He used to be so much funnier when he was just stupid. Oh my god.
Is there a way?
Alex, are we live? Welcome to Smash! We're out.
So sorry for the people that are listening. This is probably so stupid. I always feel like I'm having a TED Talk. Okay. Alright. So. I know, I should have GT or right. I should have worn the GT. Hi guys. My name is Jordan, for those of you that do not know me. And tonight, me and Frank are going to continue on in James 3. We're going to finish it out. And we're going to be talking about wisdom and what wisdom looks like to God. So before we talk about wisdom, I wanted to give an example of a fool. So who here went to Stowe? Okay, there's like a handful of people. So there's this lady in our church, Paula Lesnick. If anyone saw what she posted on Facebook a couple days ago, you will see this picture of this man. Now, this picture of this man is a guy that stole like a couple $100 worth of meat from Giant Eagle. So the Stowe Police Department put out a thing saying, if anyone has seen this man, report him, blah, blah, blah. And I'm looking at this picture and I'm reading through these comments because people are
blowing him up. One, because of his hairline. That's awful. Two, because... Two, because he... Not only did he steal all of this meat, and so people are trying to find out who he is, but if you can see in this corner right here, he's wearing a tracking device. He's wearing an ankle bracelet. So, I don't really know what he thought he was going to get away with. Yeah, I don't know if he thought he was going to get away with it or what was going to happen, but he pretty much just signed his like arrest warrant for a couple $100 worth of like pork chops. So when I saw this picture, I immediately thought of a fool, somebody that is foolish and obviously doesn't have a lot of wisdom. But wisdom, like we're going to talk about tonight, the main component in wisdom is humility. So that's what me and Frankie are going to talk about tonight. But before we get into the passage, if somebody could pray for me, that'd be sweet. And then I'll pass out some verses. We'll go from there. I'm going to open up the Bible.
Lord, I pray for a fun time tonight. I pray that you would be speaking through Jordan. The message would be clear. And I'll be able to take something out of this passage tonight. And I also pray for a fun time to worship that Lord and safety.
Lord, thank you so much for just such a beautiful night. It looked like it was going to rain earlier, so thank you, Lord, that you provided and that the weather is super nice, Lord. And just thank you that we're able to meet coming on the end of the semester and to see just some familiar faces, Lord, is really sweet. So just pray that you be speaking through me and Frankie tonight and that people's hearts would be open and that you would just, I don't know, that you would just be showing us, Lord, where we get our wisdom from and how we can get wisdom from you and what that looks like to navigate life. So, amen? Okay, so question. This happens every time. I have to lock this screen or else it moves. What would you guys define as wisdom?
Old man with a long beard.
Okay. What'd you say? Knowing useful stuff. Knowing useful stuff. Okay, you said long beard, so Alex in like 30 years. Okay, Megan?
Being able to apply what you know to your own life.
Okay, yes, we'll come back to that. Anybody else?
Knowledge and action.
Knowledge and action, okay. You guys gave like really pretty definitions of wisdom.
Knowing how stuff works.
Knowing how stuff works. Okay, yeah, you guys are basically all hitting on the same thing. So tonight we are going to talk about wisdom. And the reason why we're going to talk about wisdom is because wisdom is important. Wisdom is like the number one thing that people chase after for their entire life, right? That sounds kind of weird, but when you think about it, most people here went to college. And we spent the time, we spent the money going to college so that way we might learn and might attain some sort of knowledge, like you guys said, in order that we may make money or go forth in life. If you didn't go to college, you work a job, and the hope is that you get better and better at a job so that way you may progress in a company or whatever. So wisdom is the basis for action, right? Like Jordan and Megan said, wisdom means that you have knowledge, you have experience, you know how something works, and you know how to navigate life. You know how to get through life and all that stuff. That's why, like, Alex, when he's got his real long white beard in like 30 years, he'll be very knowledgeable about life and how life works and whatnot. But just because you have knowledge and just because you have experience doesn't mean that you are necessarily wise. So I'm going to give you guys 2 examples of people that are very smart, but they're not very wise. First is Elon Musk. People know who he is. Yes. So a couple months ago, I was telling Alex, I went on this like rabbit trail because I've heard of him and I know that he's the CEO of Tesla and he's also the CEO of this company called SpaceX, and he's worth, And boring. He's worth like billions of dollars, and he's someone that is very, very, very highly intelligent. And long story short, one of the main things that he believes is that extraterrestrial life, like other planets, aliens, I guess in short, space, all of that stuff, is worth diving into and investigating because extraterrestrial life is basically extraterrestrial creatures are far more advanced than humans and they're far better than humans. Which is really interesting because for a guy that is so incredibly smart, he has 5 kids with 3 different women, 2 failed marriages, and he is estranged from his dad and his siblings. So you would think that somebody that's worth billions of dollars and is so smart would know how to make life work. But he doesn't. He doesn't know how to make relationships work. Another example, does anybody here watch The Office? Yes. Okay, so you guys know that Dwight is very, very smart. He's very knowledgeable about beets and farming and bats and all of this weird shit. But they were able to convince him in one workday that Jim was actually an Asian man. So he's very smart, but he's not very wise. He doesn't really know how to navigate life that well. And the funny thing about wisdom is that people care mostly more about wisdom than they care about morality. So to give you guys an example, I imagine that probably everyone out here has had a friend come to them and tell them like really deeply in their heart that they're tossing back and forth the idea of if they should blow up their apartment and kill all of their roommates so that way they can get all of their stuff. Yeah, Shane, you're with me. Okay, you thought it too. No, that's a question of morality. What people are searching for in life, is wisdom, which probably everyone here has had. Either they've gone to someone, I know I've gone to Lynna, or somebody's come to them and said, I don't know how to love this person. I don't know how to tell if what I'm doing in life is what I'm supposed to be doing. How do I know God's will for my life? How do I know that I'm doing what God wants me to do? And that takes wisdom. So you guys gave a lot of really good definitions of wisdom, and the biblical definition of wisdom is getting God's viewpoint on the situation. Because wisdom is actually highlighted by love. And it's love for other people and not love for self. So there's 2 types of wisdoms in this world. And you guys mostly talked about like knowledge and stuff like that, which is really sweet. But there's godly wisdom, which I just gave you guys. And then there's worldly wisdom, which says you need to do what you need to do in order to get ahead, right? That's what we hear all over social media, all over jobs that we apply for, is how can you push yourself forward? How can you do what you can do in order to get what you want? And it's all about you. And so these things clash because God's wisdom says that what's most important is love for other people. Whereas the world says that you are the most important thing, and screw anybody else if they get in the way of that. And so if we want to be wise, which I think we should, because Christ makes a very compelling argument of why we should want to be wise. In Matthew, he says that a man that builds his foundation on God is a man that builds a house on rock, because it's sturdy and it holds up through all of the troubles and all of the storms of life. So if we want to be wise, then the start of wisdom is first and foremost love for God. And I just realized I forgot to hand out verses. So can somebody grab Proverbs 1:7 for me? JT, you grab it now. And then while you're looking that up, can somebody else get, Jordan, can you get Proverbs 18:2? And then Adam, can you get, you'll be my James 3 person. Can you just get to 13? And that's actually it. So JT, when you have that up, go ahead and read that.
The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction.
Awesome, thank you. So it says the beginning of wisdom is fear for the Lord. And really what that fear means is like a reverence, a love, a adoration of God. Is that's the beginning of wisdom. If we want to have wisdom, if we want to be wise and navigate through life, then first and foremost we need to love God. But contrast of that is fools. Jordan, can you get 18:2?
Fools have no interest in understanding. They only want to air their own opinions.
Awesome, thank you. And there's a lot of other Proverbs verses. The entire book of Proverbs is about wisdom. Greg gave a lot of them last week, so I won't cover a lot of them. But he says that fools despise wisdom. They despise understanding. And they think that whatever they do is what is right. So I kind of gave you guys a big background of what wisdom is and why it's important. So then we're going to go ahead and get into the passage and see what James has to say. Adam, can you get 13?
Who among you is wise and understanding? Let him show by his good behavior, his deeds in the gentleness of wisdom.
Awesome, thank you. So James starts off this verse with a question. And he asks his audience, who among you is wise? And he does something kind of funny because it's almost rhetorical. Before he allows his audience, whoever he was speaking to, before he allows them to answer and start listing off their reasons of why they're wise, which I imagine what they would probably say is that they went to Aldi instead of Giant Eagle. They got like a lower interest rate on a car or something like that. They bought the off-brand delicious Takis that we have right here. Before he gives them time to do that, he gives them a command. He says, show me. Now, our translation of this passage isn't really that good. It's kind of weak. It's kind of soft. Because the original Greek, the word that he uses is, Chris, if you know what this is, please correct me. Dikenow?
Close enough.
What is it actually?
Dikenow.
Oh, I wouldn't even guess that. I mean, that makes sense now that I'm looking at it. But the original Greek word that he uses is dikenow? Dikenow?
You're fine.
Okay. But what it means is it means prove. It's an imperative. James says, before you even try and tell me about how you're so wise and give me this list of why you're so wise, show me. Show me that you are wise by a life of good deeds done in humility that comes from wisdom. Because the context of who James was talking to was a bunch of religious snobs. Like Greg talked about 2 weeks ago, they were gossipers, they hated each other, they were pious, they were arrogant, they were self-righteous. So he's telling them that, shh, don't tell me that you are wise. Show me that you are wise instead by your deeds. So I think an example to illustrate this in like real life terms, I think of Greg and Lena. Because I think our entire home church, I would say, has been served and loved and prayed for by Greg and Lena. They built this entire home church basically with the Lord's help. And so their lives are marked by hospitality and by peace, by grace. Not by luxury or anything like that. They have a nice dog. But they don't have this big fancy house. They don't have all these nice things. But they give to others. And, I would say confidently that everybody in this home church considers Greg and Lena to be very, very wise. And the reason that they are so wise is because the Lord has humbled them. Over the 30 plus some years that they've been walking with the Lord has shown them that they don't always have the direction. They don't always have the answers. They don't always know what's right. And I've been in countless hangouts with Lena in her living room and stuff like that where she's like, I don't know, but let's ask the Lord, because the Lord knows. And that's really sweet. So this is what wisdom looks like to God, is admitting our need for him. Admitting that we don't know really what we're doing. We don't really have direction. We don't really know how to love people as much as we think we do. And that we need his insight. And that's really humbling. That's really, really humbling, especially in today's society, to admit that you don't have all the answers. Because to admit that you don't have all the answers, you kind of look dumb. And people look down on you. And they will get ahead of you and whatnot. But this is the humility that God cares about. And I have seen this. I am definitely not a very humble person, and I'm definitely not somebody that is very wise and has a lot of direction and whatnot. But I've always thought that I know my dad, right? I know my dad, I'm close with my dad, I know how to relate to him, and I know how to talk to him. But over the years, the Lord has shown me that I don't actually really know how to love my dad that well. And times where like me and my dad would hang out and we'd be talking about stuff, it'd be really cool, I'd be really excited, I'm like, oh my God, yeah, this is what we're gonna talk about. And then the conversation kind of gets shut down and I'm like, oh, okay, my dad seems kind of standoffish, whatnot, maybe he doesn't want to talk about this. But over the years, the Lord has shown me that I don't actually really know how to love my dad as well as I think I do. And even when I think I know how to love my dad, I still need to get on his page. So I think like 2 weeks ago or something like that, I was hanging out with my dad, and I went there and I was praying like that the Lord would give me direction or what, because my dad doesn't know the Lord and he's not very interested in the Lord. And we're sitting there and we were talking about, I think actually Elon Musk. Yeah, we were talking about Elon Musk and all this like space stuff. And I was kind of twiddling with like my hair tie and whatnot. And my dad was actually the one that brought up the Lord. And he didn't really say a whole lot. He just said like, yeah, just like Jesus back in the day. And my ears perked up and I went, okay. And I remember sitting there and just praying like, okay, Lord, I don't really know what to do, but I need your help. I need your wisdom because I don't know how to love my dad in this moment. And it was really sweet. So James is setting up that this is what God's wisdom looks like. Because it was very, very different from the wisdom that they had in their lives. Adam, can you get 14 to 15?
14 to 15?
Yes.
But if you have bitter jealousy and selfish ambition in your heart, do not be arrogant and so lie against the truth. This wisdom is not that which comes down from above, but is earthly, natural, demonic.
Awesome, thank you. So he says, this is what wisdom looks like, is to live a life of good deeds done in humility. But this is what you guys are, is that you are arrogant and you are selfishly ambitious and jealous. So he warns them not to lie about it. He says, don't harbor bitterness, don't harbor jealousy and lie about it. Because if you have this jealousy and this selfish ambition in your heart, what it leads to is that it removes love from your mind, totally. It removes the ability and the desire to love other people and to care about other people and to put their needs above your own. Instead, what it does is it puts your needs first and foremost as top priority. I gotta do what I gotta do to get what I want, to make money, whatever. And this is also very dangerous because this is the exact heart attitude that Cain had when he murdered his brother Abel. He was jealous of the gift that Abel gave to God. He was ambitious and selfish and envious and whatnot because he wanted what his brother had. And so as a result, he killed his brother for it. Now, I really, really, really hope that nobody here kills any of your roommates because they use your condiments or because they ate your Takis or whatever, and that you guys can work that out. But the heart of it is still the same, that this sort of wisdom is demonic. And he says it's demonic, earthly, and unspiritual. And the reason he uses such strong language is because this is the same attitude that Peter had when Jesus said, I'm going to die. And he's like, no, you're not, Lord. And Jesus says, get behind me, Satan. Because you have your desires. You have your things on your mind and not God. This is the exact same attitude that we have, is that I want what I want and I care about my desires. And the eyes are on me, not on other people. Because this is pretty much what we see in the world all the time, right? Everything is about getting what you can, like I said. Everything is about putting other people down. But it might not be as obvious as that. I work at a corporate place. I actually work with Lauren. And working in a corporate job, you just hear people say things like, you have to be better than this person, and this is why this person makes so much money is because they do this. You need to be as good as them, and whatever else. All they care about is themselves, getting what they want. And so James warns us not to lie about it, because he says if you lie about it, you move farther and farther away from God, and farther away from God's ability to humble you and to change you. If you lie about it and you prevent the Lord from changing you, Adam, can you get verse 16?
For where jealousy and selfish ambition exist, there is disorder and every evil thing.
Awesome, thank you. So he says, if you don't let the Lord change you, which you don't have to, it is a free will decision to humble yourself and come before God. But if you don't let the Lord change you, and if you don't let him humble you, that's what's going to happen, is that disorder and every evil deed is going to come out of that. Selfishness, strife. There's another verse in James, the next teaching we'll get to, where he's like, what is the cause for quarrels among you? It is your own selfish desires. The destruction of relationships, all that stuff, is a result of us being unwilling to humble ourselves. So my question for you guys, and this is rhetorical, but if people have thoughts afterwards, I would love to hear it. Are you guys willing to admit that you don't know and that you don't have all the answers? Excuse me. Are you willing to have the Lord humble you? Are you willing to tell your friends that you don't really know instead of acting like you know everything? I'm talking to myself. And are you going to operate under God's wisdom? Humble yourself and come before the Lord and ask for him to give you direction. Or are you going to continue to operate under the world's wisdom? Because, again, how you get this wisdom is by humility, like I've repeated, because it's very important, not by faking it or lying about it, like this passage says. And it's not even just by being smart and having knowledge, because the Pharisees, very smart people, very knowledgeable, didn't have any wisdom. But it's not just enough to not be demonic and unspiritual. It's not just enough to not have this type of wisdom. But instead, we should reorient ourselves before God and pursue what his wisdom looks like. And that's what Frank is going to talk about. Oh, I have to do it. All right. Other people listening? We're good without this. Oh, thank you. I forgot that's recording. Before we go on, hi Gracia. Thanks for watching. We'd like to give a thanks to our sponsors. Yes. Gracia. All the way from Washington. Thank you. Yes. Okay. So, for you guys who don't know me, I'm Frankie. Howdy. How's it going? What up? And so, Jordan was just talking to us about this wisdom from the world. And it's very selfish, and he described it from selfish position. Wanting to build myself up, what I want, what I think is good for myself, disregarding what other people say, because it's not in my plan, it's not what's going to be good for me. And how God wants to give us this godly wisdom, this wisdom from above. And the cool thing is, God desires to give us this wisdom. He wants us to have this wisdom. But it's about our heart attitude, to be honest. Because if I don't want his attitude, not his attitude, his wisdom, and I think my way is better, I'm not going to see his wisdom. I'm going to be stuck with myself. But when I come to God humbly before him, saying, God, help me see your wisdom, he is more than willing to give it to me and you.
It says in James 1:5, if any of you guys lacks wisdom, you should ask God who gives it generously. God wants to give us this wisdom that we're about to talk about. And that is just so cool. And I just want to encourage you guys, if you guys are just thinking from Jordan's teaching, like, oh my God, I'm just a selfish person right now, like I have the self-ambition, that's okay. Because God wants to transform your heart to have this godly wisdom. And it's not going to be perfect. And that's all right. And so we're going to go and read through James, the rest of this passage, and see these different aspects of this godly wisdom. And before we get into the rest of it, I just want to encourage anyone here who doesn't have this relationship with God. This godly wisdom comes from our relationship with Jesus. And He wants to give this to you as well. And if you were here and you're like, how do I have this relationship with Jesus? It's accepting His death on the cross to count for your sins as well. And with that, you can grow a relationship with God. He will show you His wisdom. And that we can live this out in your life as well. So, can I have a reader in James 3 for me? Chris? And then I'm going to pass out a couple verses while I'm here. Shane, can you get for me Philippians 2:4? Shelba, can you get for me Proverbs 13:10? And then that's it. All right. Chris, can you please read for me verses 17 through 18?
But the wisdom from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, reasonable, full of mercy and good fruits, unwavering, without hypocrisy. And the seed whose fruit is righteousness is sown in peace by those who make peace.
Mm-hmm. So the first one here we see is pure and sincere. So my motive in my relationships and moving towards someone is pure. It's like, Natasha, I'm going to encourage you and build you up because I see the Lord wants to encourage you, and that's my reason. Instead of, I'm going to encourage you because I want everyone to look at me encouraging you so they can see how great of a Christian I am and be like, Frankie, you got it together. No, it's, I want to encourage you because the Lord wants to encourage you. I want to move towards you, and not because it's for my own self-gain. And this wisdom is sincere. It's real. It's not wearing a mask. So when I'm telling you, like, I'm here for you, the Lord's, and I'm like coming by your side, I'm not going behind your back, Natasha, the next second and being like, look at this bitch over here. Like, she is sinning hardcore. Well, she needs to get her act together. But it's also the sincerity of, actually, I do really care about these things going in your life. Say, if Chris, you're telling me you have a friend that you want me to talk to, I genuinely am saying yes because I want to talk to them. Not because I want to be like, yeah, of course I want to talk to them. I want to look good. Or I want you to see that I want to help you. Or if you tell me to pray for something, I'm going to say I'm going to pray for you because I genuinely want to pray for you. Sincerely bring it to the Lord for your benefit to help you. Not because it's like, okay, I'm going to tell you I'm going to pray for you, but I'm not going to. And I hope you think I'm being good. So often I fall into that. I end up telling someone I'll pray for you, but then do I? No. And so that's so easy to fall into. And then the next one is being peace-loving, having peace in our relationships, even during conflict. Because let's be honest, God wants to give us peace in our lives. He doesn't want us to stay in conflict in a relationship or bitterness and this envy. But we can have this peace by coming to each other and resolving this conflict, being honest with each other about what we see going on in each other's life, being real, because and that's so different from this world, because the world tells you, we have issues, I'm going to cut you off, you're toxic, bye. Or let me trash talk you on Twitter, social media, all these platforms, but I'm just not going to at your name. You're going to just know it's you because I'm putting on there. Let me have this war with you. But no, this wisdom, it wants peace. This seeking peace in our relationships. Going out to that roommate that the Lord's calling you to resolve issues with, and pursuing them, knowing that they probably won't come to you first. Because let's be honest, and when we have conflict with people, 9 out of 10 times, they probably aren't going to come to you first. So being willing to be the first person to go to them. And the next one we got to see is being gentle and considerate. And this is when someone's talking to you and we're having these conversations, or someone's being real with you, opening up about their sin. It's being gentle with them, not being harsh and lashing out on them, being like, you're such an idiot. or anything, but it's being willing to listen and consider their needs in that time. So for example, say like, where's Nate at? I can't see him. No, I don't know. Well, say if Nate came to me and he was opening up about something really important in his life, like say something, a family issue, I'm not going to be like, Nate, like you just need to listen to this, and this first, because that might not be what he needs to hear. What Nate might need to hear, or our friends might need to hear, is someone who's willing to understand them, to be by their side and encourage them, and consider what they need to hear in that moment. Bring that gentleness. And it's being considerate of their interests and their needs. I'm not going to just tell you what I think you need to hear, but I'm going to consider what you need to hear. I'm going to try to understand where you are coming from. Because let's be honest, Kate, if you told me something, and then Shelby, you told me you guys were struggling with the same thing, you guys might be coming from different perspectives because of your background, and I need to consider what that is and come to you guys with information. Is whoever has Philippians 2:4, can you read that for me?
Do not merely look out for your own personal interests, but also the interests of others.
Yeah, looking out for the interests of others, being considerate of them. To be able to look out for the interests of those around you. I really think of Bethany when I think of that, because there's so many times where she like comes back to me and she tells me she thought of something and she's considering it. She's considering what I've told her to come back to me what I need to hear. Before just tell me in the moment, like, girl, you need to hear this. And it was so cool. And it's so, like, you see it's from the Lord. It's not from herself. The other attribute we see is being someone who's teachable and reasonable. This wisdom from the Lord allows us to be able to hear input from each other that the Lord has put on their hearts. Being willing to hear and listen to someone else who is teaching, instead of just pushing what they're saying aside. Because you know what? We're not that close, so why should I have to listen to them? They're not my closest roommate. So why should I want to hear what they have to hear or say into my life? But the wise person is like, you know what, maybe we're not that close, but you might have a different view than I do. So let me hear what you're saying in my life. Let me be willing to listen and consider what you're saying and bring it to my life and acting on it. Whoever has Proverbs 13:10, can you read it for me?
Where there is strife, there is pride, but wisdom is found in those who take advice.
Yeah, wisdom is found in those who take advice, who are teachable. And this wisdom, it allows us to be full of mercy and good fruit. During conflict or issues going on in relationships, or just dealing with life in general, being able to understand that person, give them mercy and compassion when they're being honest with us, when they're telling us maybe they've sinned against us, or telling us just about their sin. Being willing to forgive them and be like, dude, I get it, I've been there, because I have said stupid things too. And I don't know about you guys, but this can be hard for me. When I'm at work and I have a customer who's really ticking me off, it's really hard for me to be compassionate towards them. I just want to be judgmental, but really, what does that get me? Nowhere. That gets me more like upset and angry throughout the day. But instead, it's cool when the Lord has allowed me to see, like, why not be compassionate towards this person instead? See that maybe they're having a really hard time, try to understand them. And why not be merciful have compassion towards someone? Because Jesus had compassion on us first. I don't know about you guys, but when I'm sharing my conflicts with someone else or my sins, I really hope that person is merciful and compassionate to me, understands me. So why not be compassionate and merciful towards someone else when they're sharing with us? And to me, someone who's very merciful is Lydia. There's so many times I've told her something that I'm struggling with, and she's like, it's no big deal. I've been there too. And I'm like, wow, you really get me. Like, I don't have to worry and be stressed out. I'm like, wow, like, you really get me. Instead of shutting me down, you get it. And I don't know about you guys, but that makes me want to go to Lydia. Why? Yeah, when she is very merciful and gentle towards me. And I was just really thinking about Smash in general. What would we look like if we were merciful and compassionate towards people when they came to us with their sin, with their conflict? I really think we'd be booming in our cell groups, booming in our relationships. We'd be a group that people want to go to, because that is so different from the world, because the world is full of judgment and they don't want to have compassion on each other, but we can be compassionate because the Lord's been compassionate and merciful with us. because he has allowed us to see the way him giving us this compassion. And finally, we have someone who is unwavering. This is someone who's not a pushover. Like, if I went to Megan and I told her, I think you're stupid, she's not gonna be like, my whole life is ruined. I'm not a follower of Jesus anymore. She's gonna be like, yeah, that's cool, that's great. Like, the Lord still loves me, that's fine. But in a bigger deal, it's when we're going to share with their family the Lord and sharing them the gospel, and them not willing to listen to us or giving us a hard time. It's even in those moments sticking with that truth, sticking up for it, being willing to be like, you know what, maybe you're not accepting this right now, but that doesn't define my relationship with the Lord. That doesn't determine who you are, Jesus. And so, with all these things, you might be like me, thinking like, Frankie, this seems like a list of things I just need to check off. Great, I'm unwavering, I'm merciful, I am gentle, and I'm peaceful, and, I'm sincere. Great. Another list for me to do. But it's not meant to be like this. To be honest, we're not going to be perfect at that. I'm not perfect at this. Like a couple weeks ago, my friend Megan, one of the high schoolers, told me, like, when I talked to her and when I even tried to encourage her, she told me I was harsh. That I was not gentle at all. I had no idea. I was like, wow, thanks for telling me. And here I was thinking that I wasn't at all. Like, I thought I was being gentle. And the Lord had to speak through her to tell me I was being harsh. And how cool it is, though, that I could go back and think about that. I could think about that and go to the Lord and be like, Lord, I actually want to change this. Help me have your wisdom to be gentle. Help me, show me how to be gentle and compassionate towards Megan instead of this harshness. Instead of just saying, no, I'm not going to work on this anymore. No, I'm just going to say I failed and not deal with it. Because it's so easy to do that when we see, like, I'm not gentle or I'm being harsh or I'm not compassionate. It's easy to be like, okay, well, I failed. I'm not going to do anything with it now. No, the Lord wants us to come to Him with our humility and be honest with Him. Be honest with one another that actually these things are hard for us. I have a hard time loving this person. I have a hard time applying this wisdom to my life. And as we go to the Lord, as we share with Him in our humility, we can grow closer with Him because He wants to share with us His wisdom. And we're going to see that God is trustful, that we can trust Him, and that He is faithful, and we can take a leap of faith because we understand where He's pushing us to go. And we can grow our intimacy with the Lord as we learn and grow in our wisdom with Him. And how cool is that? We do not have to be stuck in our selfish ambition. We don't have to throw ourselves a little pity party for not being perfect at this. But we can humbly move towards the Lord and grow in our relationship with Him and ask Him to show us this wisdom. That's all we got for you. So if people have comments or questions, stories, something like that they want to share. Megan, is it about Dwight?
No.
Okay. Continue.
Is in regards to, like, what you were talking about, like, of not feeling like being willing to admit we don't know the answer all the time. Because I think for myself, and maybe other people too, there's kind of this pressure of, like, someone's coming to me, then, like, I should know what I should know how to handle
They came to me,
this.
I have to please them.
Exactly. There's, like, this pressure of, like, I have to, like...
They won't come to me ever again.
Right.
Yeah.
And the truth of the matter is, it's, like, in that is, like you said, humility is just, like, really seeing, like, who you are in comparison to the Lord, and recognizing that it's like you don't have to know the answers, because it's like the Lord's gonna have those, and choosing to seek those out. So I think with humility, it's like also remembering who's actually causing the growth in people's lives, who's actually like bringing wisdom and stuff like that, is through the Lord. And honestly, it's a lot more approachable to be like, I don't know the answers. Let's look it up together, because I don't fucking know.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I'm glad that you said that, because it does take the pressure off, like, I have to give an answer. I have to give something that's, like,
pleasing, this person thinks I'm wise, whatever else. But some of the people that I've gone to and just asked them, hey, what do you think about this, whatever, like the example I gave with Lena is just like, I don't know, why don't we just pray and ask the Lord, you know? And sometimes wisdom is revealed later, and sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's not, you know, but it's not some fake answer of like, I know what the situation is and, you know, we got to do this and whatnot, but it's like getting the Lord's insight and whatnot. And sometimes the wisdom is waiting on an answer or whatnot. So I think it's a point. Yeah, for sure. Adam.
So with James 3:16, you're mentioning the Lord humbling us, and basically just the Lord humbling us. Is that something we have to ask him to do, or is that something he'll just kind of do on his own?
I think both. I mean, I know that I have definitely been humbled in a lot of situations with my dad, for example, or just in my relationships with people. I've definitely been humbled and been like, oh, wow, yeah, like, or like Megan was saying, I gave someone some advice and that was really not that wise at all. And I didn't really ask the Lord for his help or whatnot. So I think the Lord will show you and will definitely humble you, but you can definitely ask the Lord to humble you as well. Like asking the Lord, hey, I don't know what I am doing, you know. It says like God opposes the proud, but he favors the humble. So he loves people that come to him and are like, I have no idea. I don't know what the answer is, Lord, but show me what the answer is. So I think it's both. I've definitely experienced both. And then once the Lord humbles you, you could be like, okay, yeah, Lord, that was like embarrassing or humbling or whatever. Continue to show me what you're trying to show me. You know? That's a good question.
Beef stew.
Beef stew.
Okay.
Betty?
One of, I think, my favorite points that just really stuck out to me was a point that you made, Jordan, about wisdom. Like, the start of wisdom is the love of God, or love for God. And then kind of secondary what comes from that is like us loving people. Like that's kind of wisdom played out, which makes me think it's kind of what we talked about yesterday in terms of unity and how unity and wisdom kind of go hand in hand, like unity as a body of Christ. But I think I have really struggled from before knowing Jesus to my whole walk with Jesus, even to now. Like I really do struggle with the whole mindset of like, well, wisdom is knowledge, right? And kind of getting those confused and thinking that like, well, I have to know all of this about the Bible and then apply it all, and I become this person that's just acting and performing the whole time. And then when my world comes crashing down, I'm like, what do you mean? But like I've been trying to put it all together. So I just think it's freeing and just really interesting that wisdom is not equal to knowledge. I can know all this stuff and it doesn't actually matter unless I love God or fear God, as you guys said. So I don't know, it seems so simple and so freeing, you know, just to walk into that space and say, God, help me fear you. Help me be in awe of you more than I am wanting to worship my own whatever kingdom that I'm making. So I don't know, I just thought that was a really good point, that I could know the whole Bible, but that doesn't make me wise unless I have this love for God.
1 Corinthians says that knowledge puffeth, but love edifies. Puffs up. Doesn't edify. Puffy. Puff the Magic Dragon. Anything else?
I was reminded of a quote from a book called Humility.
Andrew Murray, I cried. I literally sobbed reading that book because I was like, I'm such a fuck up.
Yeah.
It's depressing. That book is very good.
Some of the words in this quote, so I looked it up. But he said, humility is the only soil in which the graces root. The lack of humility is the sufficient explanation of every defect and failure. Humility is not so much a grace or virtue along with others, it is the root of all, because it alone takes the right attitude before God and allows him as God to do all. So it's like, it's just really, when you don't have a humble heart, you're not allowing God to do anything. When you realize, like, I have nothing outside of what God's given me, then it allows God to continue working. And so that's something that always stuck with me. Not that I always implement it in my life, but definitely reminded of that.
Yeah. That is a very good book. I recommend for everyone. It's super short, but it's so good. Well, if nobody has anything else, if somebody would volunteer to pray, and then Frank can pray us down, and then we're going to play kickball somewhere. We're going to whoop some butt.
Lord, I just want to thank you for Jordan and Frankie being willing to tackle the topic of wisdom and parables as we are all still trying to figure out how to be wise human beings and mature in you. And I just want to thank you that you do offer us wisdom, that you don't just throw us into this dark world clueless and lost and just fumbling around not knowing what's going on, but that you care for us, that you love us, that you pursue us to be humble, you pursue us in love, because you care for us. And I just want to thank you that we are able to have wisdom and a relationship with you because of Jesus and his death on the cross, and that we can accept that into our lives and have a relationship with you. And that's where wisdom starts. So I just want to praise you for that. And I just looked up lessons tonight that we can be having big conversations and being willing to confess areas that we have chosen pride instead of humility to one another. Relate in that and show compassion and understanding to one another and be able to encourage one another as well.
Yeah, God, I'd just like to thank you for the great weather today. Just thank you that we're able to have home church outside. I would like to just thank you that you do put a difference between knowledge and wisdom, Lord, and you give us the capability to know the difference. And you also allow us to know how to acquire wisdom, which is to ask you for it. And I just ask that we can have a cool time tonight, hanging out and pondering the difference between knowledge and wisdom.
Yeah, Lord, I just thank you so much for this passage. And God, I thank you that we're not going to be perfect at your wisdom and applying it to our lives. And that's, I don't know, it's freeing to be able to say that, admit that, and understand and know that, Lord, because, you know, trying to be perfect at all that is very stressful and causes a lot of anxiety, Lord. But praise your name, though, that you understand that we can come to you and ask you for your wisdom, and you will give it to us, and you will help us have these attributes of your wisdom, Lord. You will help us be gentle and considerate and sincere. And that's just so cool. And I just pray, Lord, that you could just be showing us in our hearts, in our lives, where we do have these selfish ambitions and where we're have this wisdom from this world, Lord, and where it's not working, Lord. And I just ask that you could be helping us just really come before you and ask for your wisdom, Lord. And I pray that we can be honest with each other where we fail too, Lord. And just be able to, I don't know, have cool conversations about this and have a fun time playing kickball, Lord. I pray that no one twists their ankle as we play. Mm-hmm. Megan, I'm watching you.
The nurse is off duty.
Yeah, nurse is off duty over here.
It's okay,
Lord, but I don't know, Lord, I pray that you can just be helping us think about this, not just tonight, but throughout this week and this month. Lord, help us continue to think about what does this wisdom in you look like. Amen. While you're watching, are we needing those tacos with love?
All right, friends.
Halfway through when
There's
I
the
realized
end.
love.
Bro, they will straight stain everything. You've had Takis, that red powder.